Now, after 4 months of conflict, the war in Ukraine doesn't appear to be reaching any kind of conclusion, and fighting rages on, particularly in the east of the country. Since Putin's forces invaded earlier this year, many Britons have been wondering how best they can help the displaced people of Ukraine and those who have stayed in the country to fight. Well, today we're bringing you the story of one man from Bolton who's taken it upon himself to directly help, transporting £1 million worth of medical aid to the war-torn country with his charity Veterans Army. His name is Ryan Yates, and he joins us now from Kyiv in Ukraine. Ryan, welcome to the programme and congratulations on your astonishing achievement. As I understand it, you've made 27 trips delivering goods from Bolton to Ukraine. Tell me a bit about the journeys that you've been making and the biggest challenges that you've faced.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. So yeah, we've done 27 runs into the Ukraine. We've built a logistical chain that expands throughout the whole of Ukraine, starting in the west, pushing further and further east. And we've literally we raised a very small amount of money, and we managed to turn that very small amount of money into over £1 million retailing in medical supplies. And we've worked with some smaller organisations as well to help with like transport and things like that. But Veterans Army has managed to, we've got access now to every military hospital within the Ukraine. We've got access to supporting military units if we want to via medical training. And the main thing that is stopping us now from excelling and pushing £2 million, £3 million worth of goods, because we have the access to equipment, is funding. There is no funding. The Ukrainian government has got no money. So we're solely dependent on crowdfunding and donations to be able to sustain our operation within the Ukraine, which is, it is making a massive impact to be able to put £1 million worth of, medical aid into a war zone that's displaced over 15 million people. And, Ukrainians are losing up to 100 soldiers a day. So, the hospitals are busy.
Ryan, £1 million, which is what you've achieved already worth of medical aid being delivered, is quite something. When did you decide that you needed to do something to help the people of Ukraine, and why was medical aid the answer?
So I was in the army for 9 years, and I started Veterans Army for British military veterans and their families during the pandemic. And then when war in Ukraine started, myself and a lot of veterans from the community that we have on like Facebook and social media, our knee-jerk reaction was, most of us had done operational tours before, how can we impact what's going on? How can we kind of aid Ukraine? And initially it was, do we go in and join the Legion, and do we try and help that way? And realistically, taking like egos and things out of the situation, I myself suffer with PTSD, like that isn't an option for us. However, we have a huge network of, a lot of us used to do private military contracting and things like that. A lot of guys now work for the NHS, ambulance service, private hospitals and things like that. So medical aid seemed like something that we could achieve. A lot of us have already had medical training within the military, and a lot of guys, like I said, have gone into the NHS and things like that. So medical aid and medical training seemed like something that we could kind of directly impact. And I put it to my community on Facebook and social media that kind of always help us with crowdfunding and generating funding to do the projects for Veterans Army. And I said, we were going to launch into medical aid, and that's how we kind of landed on it.
Well, you mentioned there that you suffer from PTSD. How dangerous are these journeys you've been making? What's the hairiest challenge you've come up against?
It's all relative. I mean, to be honest, we've been very fortunate. We've only been in areas that have experienced shelling and things like that. Like I personally have yet to see a Russian. I haven't seen a Russian yet. There is a lot of fighting. There is fighting very close to where we are. And we've been in areas where fighting has been through and been after we've gone. But we've been extremely fortunate, and some other aid organisations out here haven't been as fortunate as us. And I do believe it's because of our military backgrounds. We put a lot of prior preparation into our runs. So we're always doing route reconnaissances. We've got people checking like we're going to go down this route. And like actually someone was hit on that route the other week. Right, we'll change route and we'll go this way because there's been no reports of any fighting or forces. But we've been very lucky. Like, we've experienced the sirens at night and the shelling and things like that. But other than that, we've been very, very lucky.
And just finally, Ryan, how would you describe, from your last visit to Ukraine, how would you describe the situation there and the morale of the Ukrainians to keep withstanding this onslaught?
I honestly think that the Ukrainian people are some of the most stoic people I've ever met. There is just an utter sense of defiance in the air, and I can only kind of attribute it to what I imagine London was like during the Blitz. There is no defeat in the Ukrainian people. They are going to win this, and there's not one of them that thinks anything other than that. Everything is geared around the war effort. And I mean, for example, one of the warehouses we went to the other week, we was unloading a van and I heard a lot of singing, and I was like, sounds like something at the Sound of Music. And there was a lot of old Ukrainian women singing folk songs as they were unloading and loading medical aid boxes onto vans. And I was like, wow. You can't beat the people like that. There's just absolutely everything's, all radio stations are pro-Ukrainian. Like, they've got the Ukrainian songs all the time. Everybody is hugely supportive of anybody helping Ukraine, any aid organisation. Like, it's embarrassing how grateful the Ukrainians are for the aid that we give them.
Ryan Yates, thank you so much. That was an incredible story you just told me. Congratulations on what you've achieved so far, and long may you keep doing it. Ryan Yates, thank you very much for speaking to us on Times Radio. To donate, head to www.veteransarmy.co.uk. That's www